clean air, clean animations.
Welcome back to my YouTube channel, and today I'm going to walk you through some of my side projects that I did in 2023. Usually I just turn them into single posts on Twitter so you don't really see them on this channel. But let's do a roundup of all of my side projects, which have side projects, in 2023. The first project that I launched was the NPM Kiosk, which is a way to sell your JavaScript package. Usually, if you want to sell an NPM package, you would have to get it into a private registry, but this is rather cumbersome because then customers need to set up a credential in the config file, and also from an author perspective, it's not so easy to sell it. So I built a Next.js app which kind of acts as a registry and allows you to install an NPM package just through a URL, which includes the Stripe purchase ID as a secret to kind of bounce off people who have not purchased your package. The announcement tweet went semi-viral and got a lot of people talking, which is certainly good, although not a lot of people actually started using this technique and selling their NPM packages. Nonetheless, I find this subject particularly fascinating. How do we make it possible to write JavaScript and distribute it in a sustainable way? So for ourselves, we continued refining it. I think the whole process of buying an NPM package from us is now pretty streamlined. So the documentation is embedded in our regular documentation, and you can log into our purchase portal with your GitHub account. And if you do that, you will automatically get invited if you buy the package. We allow you to copy paste the code directly into your project or install it using an npm installation command, which does not require setting up any npm rc configuration file or authenticating with any private registry. I wouldn't call this project a success because very few people are selling and buying these packages, but nonetheless I think I will continue exploring this because I think it's important to find new ways for people who write JavaScript modules to sustain themselves, including ourselves. So we will continue exploring this, even though I don't love talking about this subject, because I found out people like it most if you just give them what they want for free. This makes sense. But yeah, being able to monetize your JavaScript code, I think, still has a lot of potential, and maybe we'll be able to crack the code on how to make this more mainstream in the future. Onto some more fun things. I created a 3D engine using only SVG in 2023. The whole thing started when I was just trying to extrude some 2D shapes into 3D and make them like rotate around to create some cool animations. But it felt like using Three.js is a way too complex tool to achieve such a relatively simple thing. But I didn't think I could do it at first because creating like a camera system and projecting and rotating all the points of a 3D path requires a lot of math. But actually William Candillion encouraged me, helped me out also a bit, and in the end it actually worked, and it wasn't as hard as I thought it would be. And I was able to extrude these 2D shapes, color the front, the back, and the sides separately, and I ended up using this technique for our Remotion 4.0 launch video, which had a pretty good reception. So that was awesome. So super glad, and I will continue doing this, maybe packaging it up into a module in 2024 and make this available as an API. There are some things that did not work out well. I think I spent a long time dealing with C index issues, so figuring out which element is in front of the other. And as it turns out, without implementing something like ray tracing, this is pretty much an impossible problem. So I think I will just strip it down a bit, only support extruding these shapes, but not dealing with the C index problem at all. But if we just do this, reduce the scope a bit, I think it will be a really cool library to launch probably this year. No promises, but I'm still on this. In May, I got asked whether I wanted to do a talk at App.js in Poland. In case you don't know, App.js is a React Native conference. And if I go to a React Native conference, then I should, of course, have something to talk about React Native, right? So Remotion right now only works on the web, but React Native was a popular feature request, so I decided to make a proof of concept, rendering a video in React Native. And I ended up doing this proof of concept and rendering a video on stage at App.js, which was, by the way, an awesome conference that I recommend anyone who is interested in React Native going to. And I put it out, and similar to the NPM Kiosk, a lot of people showed interest in the space, but then very few people actually ended up doing this. I think maybe it was because I was just putting out a really raw proof of concept and not polishing it up a lot. But I ended up abandoning this project because it seemed like the market is very small, and achieving this would mean that we would have to write a lot of code, port a lot of components to React Native, and for that it felt like too few people were interested in this overall. We also have to consider that Remotion itself, creating videos in React, is a big niche, and carving out an even smaller niche for React Native seemed a bit too much of an effort. The other thing that made me bearish on this project was that on mobile you have to be much more performance sensitive, and whole animation libraries like Reanimated were invented to make animations more performant on React Native, and our Remotion model doesn't really put performance as its main objective. I'm not saying it is slow, but we are essentially giving up some speed for better ease of use. And therefore, I think Remotion does not really work well on React Native. But nonetheless, if you want to try this out, I'll link the repo in the description. And for simple videos, you can actually render it in React Native client side. And I'm overall still very glad that I did this experiment and went to Poland to present it. Being the developer that I am, I of course always have the urge to automate as much of the video creation process as possible with JavaScript. And I post quite a few videos on Twitter and on LinkedIn, and they are all essentially screencast videos. So this led me to start a new experiment called the Remotion Recorder. Essentially, you record your screen and your webcam in parallel using the JavaScript Media Recorder API, load these videos into Remotion, and I've set up a Remotion project essentially as a scaffold for putting these clips after another, allowing you to trim them, allowing you to caption them, allowing you to position the webcam on either corner of the video so that you don't overlap your code. This is something that kept happening to me when I was just recording these videos using OBS. And then I added more features, like animating the subtitles or adding transitions, sound effects, background music, end cards to this. And I am still fascinated by this project, and I'm trying to improve it. Another strength of it is that I can make the videos responsive, so they can be square or landscape, and I could post them both on Twitter and on YouTube in their respective aspect ratio. I can create a table of content for Twitter, but then only have the timestamps in the description on YouTube. I think a lot of fascinating stuff that you can experiment with if you end up making a video only using code. Of course, to edit the video, you kind of have to edit a JSON schema, which we made a bit nicer in the Remotion Studio now, but it's maybe not yet as intuitive as just using a video editing program. Nonetheless, there are so many cool opportunities, and I want to make this as polished of a product as possible and share it with everyone, to maybe make this another niche thing amongst developers, because it allows for such cool stuff. You can for example, create a dark mode and a light mode version of your video, and when we embed it into our documentation, it shows the correct video depending on your system team. It's like it's such a nerdy thing to do, but this is what I'm all about, programming your videos. And there's a very high chance that this Remotion recorder will be put up for sale in 2024, and I'm very glad that I started this experiment. 2023 was undoubtedly the year of AI, and of course also we did some experiments. Actually, I didn't do it myself, but I commissioned it to someone in our community to create an AI bot that would respond to messages that people would send in our Discord. So the idea is that if an easy question gets asked, you can either ask the AI yourself, or we invoke an AI which answers your question. And we have now built this, but I think I'm not yet quite satisfied with the quality of answers. Oftentimes the AI hallucinates or gives bad advice, or just like does not really answer the question and avoids it. So in order to promote this more, I think we need to teach the AI more rules, give it more constraints on what the answer should contain, teach it some animation rules so that it always gives good advice. And I think once we have achieved that, we will ship this. I guess it's technically already out there. Here's a tip just for those who watch this video. On any message in our Discord channel, you can react with a robot emoji to invoke the AI, and it will try to give you a good answer. This chatbot has also some other automations, like for example, we can react to a message with a folder emoji, and the bot will turn it into a GitHub issue and kind of like rewrite the issue and the title using AI to include all the information in the issue, and that saves us some time. And if I see a message on mobile, I can just quickly turn it into a GitHub issue to look at it later. And the last experiment was me trying to bring physics to remotion. So there are a few JavaScript physics engines, and I actually just took Matter.js to experiment with. But Matter.js is designed to be used for real-time applications. So you just have like a frame loop which keeps re-rendering and just keeps going, keeps simulating the physics forward. But for remotion, we kind of have a timeline, and if you want to scrub backwards, the physics should also go backwards. So we needed to make some adjustments. I took the whole Matter.js code base, first converted it to TypeScript, and then tried to make it more functional and less stateful, so that you could also make it so that it can go backwards, so that it works with remotion. And I ended up doing that. It was a big refactor that I did over the holidays and even a bit during my vacation, when nobody expected me to do anything. I was still hacking, but on a physics engine. And it's coming along. I have decided that I also want to change how things are being rendered. So Matter.js, with its default renderer, renders everything on a canvas, but actually I find it worth pursuing that the rendering is being done all in SVG, because we have so many SVG paths, we have icons, we can turn text into SVG, we have a path manipulation library at Remotion. Soon you will be able to extrude the paths into 3D and rotate them. For me, SVG, that's just like the web native graphics rendering library, or like the ideal way to render shapes. So I want to make this a SVG only physics library, stemming from Matter.js, but then being refactored entirely to accommodate these goals of being functional, bidirectional, and vector-based. And the last part, the vector-based, I still have to do. And once I have done this, I will for sure post a demo and probably a repository where you can play around with it. These were some of my side projects in 2023. I must say I'm extremely lucky that I am my own boss and I get to just decide to pursue them, so the ideas don't just have to stay in my head. And I think I can also justify doing these experiments, because in the end I learn Remotion, my own tool, much better and get to improve it. And also it's not rare that these experiments come back into Remotion as a new library or a product. Extremely glad that I get to do all of these experiments. Were you doing any side projects yourselves, experiments, whether successful or not? Let me know in the YouTube comments, and I'll see you in the next YouTube video.